4-question paper, 5 provinces. Now, I know most of the grade 11th, you have issues with database. So please, that's why I'm starting today, so that you have enough time to watch over this, and then you'll be able to practice more. Now, the question says we have to open TBL 5_1. So this is the table. Remember, we have 2 views. We have datasheet view and design view. If you double click, it's going to open for you in datasheet view. If you right click, then you choose design view. Now, let's start with the datasheet view, which they will ask questions there. So I'm going to increase it so that it will be more visible as you watch. Now, the first thing that they can ask you regarding database is to change the text formatting. Now, you will see text formatting, there's an arrow whereby you can change all this. Alternatively, you can go to tell me what to do and type format or cell. If you type cell, it's going to give you format cell. Now, we have the cell effect like raised, sunken, or flat. We have the background color. They can ask to change the background color and alternate background color. They can also ask you to change the grid line colors. And they can ask you to also remove either vertical or horizontal grid line. Then one interesting aspect here is the border and line style. They can ask you to choose the column header must be underlined with maybe dashes or any of these. Then you click OK. So that's how we format the cell. Again, in datasheet view, you must also watch how to change the row height. So when you right click, you see row height. Let's say we are changing it to 35. This is the 35. It will change all of them. Again, when you right click, they can also ask you to choose standard height. This is standard height. Then it goes back to the standard height. Then again, what can you do over here? We can also sort. Let's say we are sorting according to the province in ascending order, which is A to Z. Right. And they can also ask you to do calculations over here. Now, to do calculations, you must go to totals. Then you see the total row. Let's say we want to pick the average MW capacity. Then you select it whenever you see the total row. So basically, these are the things that you must know regarding the datasheet view. Of course, they can tell you to also center them or alignment or change the font color, which they can ask you to do that also. Right. Now, we move straight to design view. But before that, they can ask you to also export maybe the first five. Let's say they can ask us to sort according to MB capacity from largest to smallest. And they want us to sort it and then export the first 5, which is this one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We want to export the first 5 as PDF. So you only select the first 5, not all of them, and then export. You get it from external data, then you see export. Let's say we are exporting to PDF. only the selected part. Then you export it. Then you can now give it a name. Or they can ask you to export it to maybe spreadsheet. We are exporting to spreadsheet. Then you take this one, export data with layout. Then only the selected record. You take only the selected record so that you can now browse it and then go and then display it where you want to export it to. So when we go there, only that 5 will be there. As you can see, only that 5. So when you're exporting and then only the selected one, that's how we export. Right. Now we move straight to database design view. What can be done under the design view? Let's check the checklist. So here, the question paper, it says move the province and change the property. So here is all about design view. They only focus on design view. If you check 2023 question paper, it says add the horizontal and vertical line or grid lines. So that one also, they have one question for properties. Now, it says we must open it in datasheet view and edit this. Now, it should be design view, not datasheet. It should be design view, but because whenever that you are inserting new field and others, you must have it in design view. Now, the first one, you right click and choose design view. The first question says, move the province field to be the first. This is the province field, and we want it to be the first. To be able to move it, you click on the gray square box next to the province. You hold down the control key, then you drag it to the first position. So if, let's say, you want this one to be last, you hold down and drag it to last. Then they can even ask you to insert a new field in between the year completed and the company. So because it's going to replace this one, the company, you just right click and choose insert row. Then you'll be able to insert the new field, let's say code. Then you choose the data type. Right. Change the properties of the power station field so that the data must be inserted when adding a new record. The data must be inserted when adding. Whenever you see must, it means required. The property is called required. Whenever you see must, it means required. So here we go to the power station and then the property required, we choose yes instead of no. It means that you cannot leave it empty. You have to always type something when you're adding new record. Then insert a validation rule to match the validation text for the year completed. Here is the year completed. Now it says accept only year after 1970. After 1970 means greater than 1970. That should be the validation rule. Greater than 1970. So the year should be greater than 1970. Right. So that's how we put a validation rule. Now, if the question said, let me open Word so that I can just explain the concept of validation rule. If, let's say, the question was asking us to put the year to be from 1920 to 1970, then you say between 1920 and 1970. So we use the keyword between when you know the start and the end, meaning the start year is 1920 and then the end year is 1970. So this should be the right validation rule. But if you say after, then we only use greater than 1970. This one we could have also said greater than or equals to 1920 and less than or equals to 1970. But then sometimes most learners get confused with the greater than and then the less than. So I prefer when you know the start and then the end values, you use between. The same applies to date. You say between, let's say 1st of January 2000 and 31st of December 2000. This is the validation rule for only the date in the year 2000. That's the first date and then the last date. So we use between. Then when you type this, automatically it will come with hashtag. So when you are inserting it, do not put the hashtag. It will be there automatically. All that you need to do is you type the date in the normal format. Again, you can have validation rule that is talking about after today or be up to today. It's greater than or equals to. In database, we don't have today, we use now. That means it should go up until the current date. Right, so watch out for that. And we also have validation rule that talks about including, let's say, validation rule for @ symbol, like email must contain the @ symbol. So you put a star before and then the star after. So watch out for some of these things. But if it is text, you put them in inverted comma. There's a male or female. That means it should only contain male or female. We separate with all. You can have more than one options, and then you separate each of them with all. So these are some of the validation rules that you might encounter. Let me check if the 2023 question paper also has validation rule. I'm going to open the 2023 question paper, and then we also check some of the things regarding database table. So that is 2023 paper. Was it 6 data? No. I think it was question number 4. Yeah, 4 Com Club. Yes. Right. Now let's look at some of the questions. It says change the meetings table as follows. So we double click on the meetings table. And then it says add the horizontal and vertical grid lines. So like I said, you always go to cell. You type cell and then it gives you format cell. Then you add horizontal and vertical grid lines. The next question, change the properties of the date ID field so that the user has to enter. It is similar to must, has to enter required, yes. And you can change the property in design view. You right click and choose design view. Now, the question says has to enter date ID. So this date ID. Then the property code required, you change it to yes. And then again, change the property of the speaker field so that the user cannot enter more than 25 characters. And that's the field size. You can't enter more than 25 characters, meaning you have to set the field size to 25. So we click on speaker, then the field size, we change it to 25. Then again, add a field with the name photo between the speaker and then the topic field. It must be able to store a digital image. Now, anytime they are talking about digital image or digital document, we use OLE object. The data type is OLE object, which stands for Object Linking Embedded. Now, so we need to create a new field called photo between speaker and topic. Between speaker and topic. That means it's going to push topic below. So you right click on the topic and choose insert row. Then you type photo. Now, images and multimedia, we don't choose short text. We choose what we call OLE object. If it is email, we choose what we call hyperlink. Email and then website address, we use hyperlink. So you must watch out for that. Right. Change the properties of the distance field so that the value in the field will be displayed with one decimal place in datasheet view. So the distance, when you click on distance, it is number, and then you see the format. We choose fixed, then the decimal place will be 1. Which, if you don't choose fixed as format, it's going to change the decimal places. So you choose fixed so that you'll be able to choose the exact number of decimal places. And then a user cannot enter value less than or greater than 30. It cannot be less than. The keyword here says cannot be able to enter. So you can enter less than 3 or greater than 30. So you can put less than 3 or greater than 30. Or alternatively, meaning that it starts from 4. If you say less than 3 or greater than 30, that means it should start from 4. 4 up until 29. So meaning here it should be from 4 to 29. So we can use between. You can say between 4 and 29. Or you can say less than 3 or greater than 30. Or somebody can say greater than or equals to 4 and less than or equals to 30. Or less than or equals to 29. That means from 4 up until 29. So you can choose any of these and it will work. Now let's put it. So I'll go to validation rule and I type between 4 and 29. Or you can say less than 3 or greater than 30. Now we also have default value. Here the default value says 0. That means automatically new record will pick 0. You can see here, before you type, it picks 0. That's the default value. Then change the property of the claim field so that the field is displayed as follows when a new record is added, tick. So meaning it should be yes and no. So the claim field is tick, then yes and no. We can change it to true or false or on and off. So you can just change it instead of yes and no to be ticked. Right. Remove the re-embed field. So to remove means delete. You right click and then you choose delete rows so that you'll be able to delete that. And then again, a code for meeting is made up of the following: 3 compulsory letters, followed by 2 compulsory digits, followed by a single letter entry optional. Now, this is called input mask, and I will always like you to study the input mask worksheet, which will be given to you together with HTML code. Now, compulsory digit we use 0. Optional digit we use 9. Optional digit including negative and plus we use hashtag. Compulsory letter we use L. Optional letter we use question mark. A letter or digit we use capital A. A letter or digit which is optional we use small a. And any character which is compulsory, capital C for any character which is optional. Less than if you want to change everything to lowercase. Greater than if you want to change to uppercase. So you need to study this whenever you are answering such question. Now the question says three composite letters, of which the first is uppercase. That means composite letter we use L. And we want three of them. So you put 3L. But of which the first is uppercase. That means the first should be uppercase greater than, and then the next two is less than, is lowercase. So it should be greater than L, less than 2L. So the second and the third letter will be lowercase. The first letter will be uppercase. That's why we put a greater than. Followed by two compulsory digits. Compulsory digit will use 0 for it. So you put 2 zeros next to it. Followed by a single letter which is optional. A letter which is optional is question mark. So you put question mark. Right. So this is how the validation rule was supposed to be. You must always look out for that. Let's also look for validation rule for this one. Or not validation rule, input mask. There is an input mask question here. I think here there was no input mask question. There was no input mask question. So we can move on with that. Last year, there wasn't any input mask question. So this question paper, we just needed to put that validation rule. And the question says it should be assigned to a code. So we must create on the code an input mask. We put it here. So it should be greater than 2L and then less than another 2L, then followed by 2 zeros and then question mark. That should be the input mask property sheet. Right, so you must always refer to it. Now, a letter will use capital L to represent it. You must always refer to that. Right, add a primary key to any suitable except description field. So primary key should be unique. A primary key should not be empty. So you must take note, primary key, it should be unique field and it should not be empty. So now when you check this, go and check it from the datasheet view. This one is empty, so it cannot be primary key. The code can be primary key. A photo cannot be primary key. Maybe the photo is the same. So the best one should be code. So you go to code, which is unique. You right click and choose primary key. And then now edit the single record. Add the single record by copying the full content of the text for forensics and then the description, and then you put it inside. So here they can ask you to type something here, which you can type it only in datasheet view. You type them in datasheet view. Right. Now, we move straight to what we call the input mask, not input mask, drop down or combo box. If you can check last year question paper, it says add the option ESCOM as a lookup value to choose from the company field. So ESCOM was not there, and we need to choose it or add it. So when you go to the company field, you will see lookup, and all of them are here without ESCOM. So you put question, you put semicolon, then you put inverted comma, then you type ESCOM. so that when we go there, SCOM will be part of it as a lookup, so that you see SCOM as part of it. Right. We can have a lookup whereby we pick it from a table. Let's say we are going to pick another one called, maybe I'll have province. Maybe province 1. I want to pick the province values. Now, if you are picking the value from another table, you go to data type and then you choose lookup wizard. Then if you are going to type the values yourself, you choose the second one. I will type in the values myself, then you type the values here. Maybe EC, Northwest, Eastern Cape, and then you type all the provinces, then you click on finish. So that when you go there, the options will be added here to select. Now, if you are taking from another table, let's say we have another province. If you are picking from another table, you just have to go to lookup, then you change the text box to combo box. Then you see row source type, you select the table. Let's say I'm picking from this table. So if you are to pick from the table, you go to lookup and then you change the text box to combo box. Then the row source, you pick the table which contains those lists, and that's the lookup. Right. So that is all about the table properties that you need to know. Now let's move straight to form and then queries. I don't think I will spend much time on forms. Still on 2024, there was a form given to us, which we need to make changes to it. So you right click on the form and then choose design view. Now the first question says, change the heading of the form to your name. So this is the heading of the form. You type your name. You can extend it. And then change the background color of the form footer to the same color as the header. So here is the footer. You right click and then you see fill or back color. So the same color as the header, I think it was this one, not that color. Fill or back color. So that you can choose the same color. I think it's too deep, that one. Yeah. Right. The next question says, change the format property of the DAM name text box to always display the data in uppercase. Now, we want this one to be in uppercase. This is the DAM name. Remember, the one on the left-hand side is the text box or the label. This one is the text box. So this is the field that you need to make changes. Now, if you don't see the field properties, you just right click and then go to properties. It's going to give you the properties of it. Now, the question says it should be in uppercase. That means the format, you put greater than to change it to uppercase. Right. So when you put a greater than for the format, it changes to uppercase. Now, the next question, which says, insert the label next to the completed text box to display the message year only, example 2010. So the completed years, This is completed, and they wanted us to put a text box next to it. So the text box or the label, you get it from the form design, and then you see label, which is the capital A, small a. Then you draw it here, and then you type inside years only, example 2010. Right. The hydroelectric field does not appear in the form. Insert hydroelectric field next to the capacity in the form. So we need to insert that field next to capacity. That means on top here. So we choose the text box, which is AB, and then you draw it. Now, we change the label name to hydroelectric. And then, like the way they bolded them, you must also bold them the same. So you can get that one from format. And then you see bold. So you can see they were bold, and then they also use the calibri. So you must use the same to bold them. Right. And then again, the unbound, this is what you do. You must right click and choose properties, like I told you earlier. You right click properties so that you see the property sheet. Now we need to add the data inside it instead of unbound. So we go to data and you see the control source. We select hydroelectric so that it will be written hydroelectric to add the data to it. Right. Remember here also you can insert input mask and validation rule like we did in the table. They can ask you a question on that. Now, they can ask you to fill also here. You right click, you see fill or back color with any color. Or you can fill with a picture, whereby you go to format, you see background image, then you can browse for a background image. Right, now let me remove the fill color. Then you can have the background image. Right, now again, they can ask you to insert an image in the header. When you go to form design, you see insert image, then you can draw the image. Then they can ask you to change the height and weight of the image. When you right click, you see properties, format, then you can see the height and then the weight of the image. Again, the size mode, you can change the size mode to stretch so that it fills in. These are some of the questions that they can ask you for the header and then the footer. They can also equally ask you to insert the action button. Like you click on button from the controls and then you draw it. Maybe to close the form so that to give you access to close the form. So the action button, you can get it from here, from the form controls. The one like a rectangle written button, some of them have X, X, X on it. So that's action button. Right. They can equally ask you to also link this image. Now, when you click on it, you see hyperlink. Then you go to hyperlink address, maybe to link it with something else. So you must watch out for all these. Always look out for it in the properties. You'll find all of them. Now, what if they ask you to insert date and time? You'll also find it here. Date and time to the header or only the time on the header. So that is all about forms that you need to know. Now let's move straight to queries. So if you can check the other question paper, the form was similar, like this one here. remove the border from the label, admin control to the header section, the date as the date join, do not change the format, properties so that the date picker, yes, if it's a date, they can ask you to pick a date picker. So let's say if we were to have a date, let me open this one in design view, this birth date, and they want the date picker to be there. So when you go there, you see show date picker, you say for date, then you select never or for date. If you don't want to display, you choose never. Right. So if they ask you some of these questions, that's how you must do. And then again, this date was not showing. They wanted it to be the actual date and time. So you go there and choose date and time. Then you can now copy that date to that side. Right. Sometimes the date is also not visible. You must always check it also. Now, you can also arrange them. When you select it, you can go to form arrange, then they can ask you to arrange them to stack, the entire one to stack. You can get it from arrange. So you must watch out for some of these things. Now we move straight to queries and then report. When it comes to queries, I would like you to know that the queries that you'll be asked to create are the following. Either you create a new query and then you modify a query. There is no query with condition calculated field. Grade 11, you don't do calculations. It's only creating a query, modifying it, and then putting also the sorting aspect. Right. So let's check last year question paper. Create a query called QRY5_3 based on the TBL5. Now, anytime you are creating a query, we use what you call query design. Now, before I start the query, let me check if there's any question. Yeah, somebody say, can you use $? Yes, you can use $. Also. You can use $. To also display. Right. You can use $. To display. Now, let's proceed with the queries. Now, anytime you are creating a query, you go to create, then you use query design. And then this question says we have to create a query based on TBL5. So you choose the table TBL5. You double click on it. Now, you select the one that you need to pick. It says display only the dam name, the province, the river, and then the surface area. So you double click on the dam name, followed by the province, followed by the river. You double click, and then followed by the surface area. Now, after selecting them, the next thing to do is sort the data alphabetically first by province and then by the name of the river. So we are sorting by the province. Alphabetically means ascending order, and then by the name of the river. Now, because the question says we must sort by the province before the name of the river, meaning we need to exchange these two, meaning the province should come first before the dam name. Let's check the question. Yeah, that's the dam name. Now, it said display only the dams with a surface area of 100 or more. So whereby the surface area should be greater or equals to 100. So don't forget to pick the surface area greater than or equals to 100. You put a criteria there, and then you can now run it. Right. The next question says, we have to edit the query 5_4 so that the dams found with the spread instead of reverse. Use the total feature to display the average depth of the dams in the list. Now, let's check this question. This is 5_4. You right click and choose design view. Now, according to the question, it says, we want split, not the dam. So you have to run it and check how did they type them and where did they have them? Under the reverse, with the SPRUIT. I'm not sure what is the dam name. Let's check again. Means small, often dry, one during that one. Now, display a list of dams found in the spread instead of river. So the dams that are found in the spread. So you have to look for the dams that has the spread. We need to check the right criteria. All right, so they don't want the river. These are the rivers. Let's check the code because we don't see the criteria. To display the list of them found in the spread instead of rivers. And then they are saying in South Africa means a small, often dry and dry. So let's check if there's any small or something there. There is nothing of that. Okay, so now I think they wanted us to find the average, the total feature for the average depth of the dams in that list. So we use the total feature and then we'll pick the average. Average depth. Here's the depth, then you choose average. But now the criteria that I was looking at, I don't see any spread here. And all of them are having the name called dam with a capacity. Let's check the table where they created according to TBL5 data. So let's check TBL5 data. If it also has no, it does not have that. So I think maybe I'm not sure what that question wanted, but then now I believe we have to only add this one with a total row to get the average. Now, there are times that they can give you a criteria. Let's say the dam that starts with S. So you can say S star S star. That contains that. So the dam name that contains letter S. Or if, let's say, we want to display only Because all these river names, there are some river names, all of them are having different names next to them. So that is why that question was different. I didn't know what they wanted, but then I've been able to put the total. Right. Remember, there's no aggregate function. There's no aggregate function, so we cannot use the aggregate function here. Now let's check this one, 5_5. List of all the dams completed within the last 50 years. From today with a capacity of more than 500,000. So the last 50 years from today, 5_5. So completed within the last 50 years from today. That means we can use between from the completed. So between, so last 50 years from today, between, and then that date within the last 50 years. So meaning this is 2025 from today, and then we have that year. That could be maybe between that year, maybe 21st of January. Well, the last 50 years could be, this is 2025. So maybe 2000, and then the year 2000 will be 25 years. And then if you also take another 25 years from there, maybe 1975. 75 and today. So today you can say now, between that date and then now. So it will give only that date. Then again, the question says, with a capacity of more than 50,000 liters. So you go to capacity more than 50,000, you put greater than 50,000. So between now and then the last 50 years, then also capacity of more than 50,000. Then you put that one there. Now, if they want a specific one, let's say the dam name, they want to display the dam name that has maybe info for them. So you just put star IMP star. You pick the first three letters, so it's going to give you the info for them. So you must take note of that. If they give you that type of question, that involves the criteria. I wanted to see if I can find any such question. Now we can check this question from the 2023 question paper. There were 3 queries, which is 4_2. It says we must create a query called 4_2. So we go to create and then query design. And then the query must be based on club members. So you double click on club members. Then according to the question, we must display the member. You double click. You must display also the phone. And then you must display the group. And then you must display the mailing list. Right. And then again, the question says, add a criteria to display only parents from the group who are not on the mailing list. Now, you have to first run it and check. How do they put the parent for the group? They wrote parent in full. So you put P star, or you can put the star PAR star. under the group. So it's going to give you only parents. Remember, like we did for the criteria, you put the first three letters, star before and star after. Right. And then those who are not in the mailing list, that means those who said no, who did not take. So mailing list, we just say no. So those parents who are not in the mailing list would opted for no. Right. And then the mailing list field must not be displayed. So we have to go and then you must untick mailing list so that we don't display it. Right, now let's go to 4_3. It was created for us. Show all records of members who were younger than 21 years. So 4_3, younger than 21 years, which is age joined less than 21. And then again, it says the query must show all records of members who have more than 2 devices, irrespective of the age at which they join. So irrespective meaning that they shouldn't be on the same row. So you go to the devices and then you go to more than 2, which is greater than 2. Because of irrespective, it should not be on the same line. And then you run it. Ensure that the youngest member appear on the top. So the youngest member must be on the top. And this is not the youngest, meaning we have to sort it according to the age join in ascending order. Right. Now 4_4. Add group field to the query, and then the query must show records whose surnames start with N to Z. So 4_4. And we have to add the group. So we choose group. You can select from here or you double click from that side. Now, the question says all those whose surname, that's member field, start with letter from N up until Z. So the surname, the members, you choose between N and Z. That means they start from N up until Z. We use between. Right. Then again, only those records where the member joined the club before the April 2018 must be inserted. So the join field before means less than 2018. And then the last date for April 2018 is 31st, or the first date, 01/04/2018. So the 2018, let's check again. April or before meaning less than 2018. Here the date they change. So here should be 4 and this side should be 1. Right. So that is all for the queries. Now let's move straight to the report. The report is going to be short. Like this question, there was no report, but last year question, there was a report question. So the report, you just have to know how to create or how to modify the report and then how to sort. Now, this question says we must create a report as follows. We must display the province, the dam name, the completed capacity, and the depth of the dam field. So to create a report, you go to create, then you choose report wizard. And then they say it should be based on the table TBL5 data, this one. And what should we show? Province, then name, completed, capacity, and then the depth. So first you double click on province, then name, completed, and then the depth. Right. Then you go to next. Do you want to add any grouping? Yes, because the question says the report must be grouped according to provinces. So you double click on provinces. Now there is also grouping options. Let's say we want the provinces to be having first letter or the first three letters. Then go to next. And then the question says, edit the group to be summarized by giving the total capacity of each group. So the total meaning sum of each group. So here, when you go to the sorting, they can also ask you to sort. Let's say we are sorting by the dem name. And then you do the calculations here. Summary options. Then they say the total capacity of each group. So here we did not select the capacity. That's the problem. We didn't pick the capacity. So we can choose maybe the sum of the dem. And then you finish. Now, you click on close print preview. We are going to do that calculation. Now, to do calculations, you must make sure that the group and sort is there. So you can go to tell me what to do, then you type group and sort. Then you'll find here group on province with no totals.